Visa interview preparation continues to be one of the most common questions we get here at Chime Coaching. Looking through all the comments you guys are making, there's so many types of visas out there, especially for working and studying abroad here in America. So we're going to be breaking down these common visas and how to prepare and the things you need to know to get success in your visa interviews. Check it out. Hey friends, welcome to Chime Coaching. I'm Rob, and we love helping people be successful in their cross-cultural journeys, especially when it comes to visas and immigration, and helping you guys not get denied or refused after all that hard work you've done. We've got an amazing friend today, Mandy, with Argo Visa, who's going to be breaking down different visa types, how to prepare well, what you need to know specifically for these work and study visas. Mandy, welcome back. Please go ahead and introduce yourself again.
Hey, Rob, it's always so great to be back on Chime Coaching. I love your subscribers and I always get such great questions from you. And I think today's topic is going to be really interesting for everybody, just because, just like you said, there's so many different letters in front of the visa. What does that mean? Some are for work, some are for studying. And I myself used to be a visa officer and have interviewed over 100,000 people. So I have a little bit of expertise on visa interviews and exactly what happens at US consulates and embassies around the world. So I'm just excited to be here to talk to everyone.
Yes, you guys provide amazing value. Be sure to check out some of the other videos we've made with Mandy as well. We'll have the links for those. Specifically, we're going to be talking about work and study visas like J1, M1, H1B, L1, EB3. Those are a tongue twister. And be sure to stay tuned to the very end because we're going to talk about mistakes and things to be watching out for as well with these specific visas. But Mandy, let's get started. And what is kind of a quick overview that people need to know of what are these different types of visas and what do they mean?
I think the first breakdown that you have to be aware of is that there are some visas for non-immigrant purposes. So these are called non-immigrant visas. And another word to remember them by is just they're temporary visas. You're coming over to the US, maybe in the future you might want to stay permanently, but you're not really sure. Your purpose is to come over for a short period of time to do this specific type of study or this specific type of job. So that would include visas like the F1, the J1, and the M1. Those are more student visas. You're coming to follow a specific course of study. And then you have the non-immigrant temporary visas like the H1B, the L1, the E2, and those are more non-immigrant work visas. So you're just coming for a short period of time, regardless of what happens in the future. Now, on the other hand, you have immigrant visas, which are also known as green cards. So you get your immigrant visa stamp at your consulate, and then once you come over to the United States, within a couple of months, you'll receive a green card. That means that you're a legal permanent resident and you have a right to stay in the United States forever, become an American citizen in a few years, or some people choose to just stay green card holders. And so those are a little bit different and different interviews as well, because you can actually get green cards for work visas. And so we can talk a little bit more about that. But in the list that you mentioned, Rob, the H1B and the L1 are for temporary purposes, and the EB3 is a type of green card, an immigrant visa where you can come and work and stay here forever.
I know F1 is the most common student visa for international students, but what is J1 and M1 used for? What do those stand for?
That's a great question. So a J1 visa is for exchange visitors, and that actually covers a very broad category of different types of purposes that you come to the US. So you have people who are government researchers, you have people who come here to be professors, you have people who come here to be au pairs, or for what's called summer work and travel, where you're coming to work at a summer camp or a restaurant or a hotel. So all of these different categories fall under the J1 visa, but it's not really important that you understand exactly what it's for, because whatever entity you're working with in the United States to bring you over here, they will know what purpose it's for, and they will also issue you the form that you need for your visa interview at the US consulate, and it's called the DS 2019 form.
So Mandy, the L1 and H1Bs are non-immigrant work visas. What's the difference between those two?
Yes, they're actually for different types of work. So the H-1B, if you know a lot about the H-1B, it's very, very popular, but it is subject to a lottery. And so you have to kind of register, hope that your name gets picked so you have a chance at getting an H-1B visa to work in a specialty occupation. The other really interesting thing about the H-1B visa is that it is actually something called dual intent. So you can actually get this type of visa with plans to stay in the United States for longer, because a lot of H-1B workers will come over, their companies will petition for them to get green cards. And it's a great, it's a great process for people who have long-term goals in the US. But the hard thing is just that lottery. Now, the L1 is for something called intracompany transferees. And the great thing about Ls is that it doesn't require a lottery. Anybody can apply for an L1 if they meet the requirements. But what is tricky is you have to have been working for a company, at least within the last 3 years, for at least a year for this company, who has another office in the United States. So again, if this is something that you think you could qualify for, perhaps you are working in an overseas country for a company and now they want to send you out and open a new office in the US, definitely talk to a skilled immigration attorney who can, see if you meet all of the requirements. But it's really great because there's no, you don't have to hope that your name will get picked. If you qualify, you just qualify. And, I really highly recommend it.
So L1 seems more like a direct internal transfer within a company, but into a different country.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Got it. That makes sense. And what about the M1 visa?
So the M1 visa is interesting as well. The only students I've ever seen apply for an M1 visa are people who are coming over to study becoming a pilot. And so we have a lot of pilots who are coming over to train, and they specifically use the M1 visa. There's probably other obscure reasons that you get an M1 visa for, but realistically speaking, it's just such a small percentage compared to our F1 and our J1 applicants.
Very cool. I had no idea about that one.
Yeah. So if you ever are interested in becoming a pilot, that's what you would need. But, you're an American citizen, so you don't need that.
Yes. So Mandy, tell us just a little bit more about these differences between immigrant and non-immigrant visas and why people need to know the difference.
It's actually really important that you know what type of visa you're getting when you go to the consulate, because for non-immigrant visas, it's very important that you demonstrate at the visa interview that you don't have something called immigrant intent, which means that when you're applying for the visa, your goal is not to ultimately stay in the United States at that moment. So this is the one kind of weird and kind of tricky thing about visa interviews and immigration law. So you might have long-term plans, you're exploring what happens in the United States, but you can't, already have very concrete plans like I'm using this non-immigrant visa to stay temporarily and then to stay forever. So that's really the biggest difference, I think, between non-immigrant visas and immigrant visas that is important at the visa interview stage.
Yeah, knowing that really impacts how you communicate during those visa interviews.
That's right. And for immigrant visas, when you're applying, usually it's family based. You have somebody in the United States who's a family member already petitioning for you. You're going in for your interview, and it's very straightforward that you're planning on moving to the US, for the foreseeable future. Whereas for non-immigrant visas, it's important to demonstrate to the visa officer that you do intend to return to your home country after you're done with whatever you're using the visa for.
That's great. And I think really helpful for people to understand. Now let's talk a bit more about the importance of these people who are preparing for visa interviews to know the specific requirements of that visa category, and also maybe how a immigration lawyer and immigration attorney can help them understand that better.
I love that you brought that up, Rob, because each visa category really has a lot of nuances, what it can be used for, what it can't be. And it's very important to understand all of the requirements. If we were to go through all of that today, I probably would take hours of time. But what I can say is it's really important for you to find a good immigration attorney, who you feel comfortable with and you feel like you can trust them with your situation, because then they can give you all of their insights and their legal understanding of the requirements that you have to meet to qualify for the visa. And so that's really, really important. And sometimes laws will change. And so when you don't know, you don't want to look on the internet for these types of requirements because you're not sure if it's the most up-to-date information, if it's actually written by somebody who is knowledgeable. So you really want to find a licensed US immigration attorney who can help you with this. I myself am a licensed US immigration attorney, but my work specifically actually focuses on making sure that people are ready for the visa interview process. But I work with so many great immigration attorneys who, love helping international citizens through this process.
Yeah, there's some great people, great resources, great firms out there that really advocate and support the international community in America. So don't worry, there's people out there that can help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I would just say that, find somebody that you feel comfortable talking to about your personal situation. Perhaps they speak your language, your native language. And so that always, I think, is really helpful for clients, is to feel like there's that trust.
My friends, so far this video has been amazing. I've learned a lot. Don't forget to give a big like and thumbs up to say thanks to Mandy for sharing these tips and helping out you guys prepare well for your visa interviews. And our chai question for this video is, what type of visa interview are you preparing for now? Which category, which visa name? Go ahead and tell us in the comments. We'd love to know which ones that you guys are applying for. Is it J1, H1B, L1, EB3, F1? Let us know in the comments. Okay, Mandy. Now, what are the things that our friends will need to watch out for in their visa process?
Such a good question, Rob. So one thing that a lot of people don't consider is that the US immigration and visa process is actually handled by two completely different government agencies. You have one side, USCIS, that handles everything that's happening in the United States. So if you're coming over here and you're adjusting status and you're changing from, an F1 student visa into, an H1B or an L1, that would be handled by USCIS. So that's one agency. But then you also have the visa side, which is handled by the Department of State, which manages all of the US embassies and consulates overseas. And so because this process is handled by two agencies, a lot of times they don't really work very well together. They don't communicate very well together. And you just don't want to be someone who ends up falling through, the gaps in the process. And so that's why sometimes it's so hard for people to understand, if you already have an immigration attorney, why do you need somebody who's like a visa expert, like one of us at Argo? Or if you're working with us, why do you then need an immigration attorney? And it's because we kind of handle different parts of the journey and we have expertise in different agencies. And the most important part of this process is really just working with, who you're hiring as a professional to really help you with your case, because it could be really tricky to make sure that you don't have any problems. This is definitely something that you want to invest time in being proactive about. So you're asking the right questions to the immigration attorney you're looking to hire, or even the ex-visa officer, like from Argo Visa. You want to make sure that you know who will be handling your case, because it's going to make a huge difference in whether your journey is successful or really stressful.
I think understanding those two different government bodies and what they relate to and who's responsible for what. And yeah, I think that's really important, because I don't think a lot of people understand that differentiation.
I certainly didn't before I started working for the government. So
Mandy, it seems like there's so many different types of visas out there. Everyone is very specific, very special, and especially different in how you prepare for that visa interview, which is so important. And how can you guys at Argo Visa help people really nail those visa interviews and be confident?
At Argo, all of our consultants are ex-visa officers who have worked at US consulates and embassies around the world. We have multiple officers who have worked at the US consulate in India. I myself used to work at the US Embassy in Beijing, and we have people who have worked in Canada and Brazil and France and the UK. And so this is really our niche area of expertise, is working one-on-one with clients on our platform to make sure they're very prepared for this important interview. Because what people don't realize is, even though it's just a 3 to 5 minute interview, there's a lot of nuance in how you answer questions, how you can be proactive to help the visa officer help you, instead of going in and saying just like one word answers. That's not very helpful to the visa officer. So you really want to, work with an expert to make sure that this process goes smoothly for you, especially if you have big plans and big dreams in the United States. And we welcome you. We're so excited to help you through this process.
Definitely. We'll have links in the video description, a comment that you guys can check out and learn more about Argo and their services to help you guys nail those visa interviews. We've seen really cool success with people checking them out and getting that coaching. We've got some other great videos as well we've done with Mandy before and other people like Ben from Argo. So don't miss that as well. Some great tips there. And Mandy, thanks so much. I've learned a lot. There's some new categories that were new for me today, and I know a lot of people are going to learn a lot. So thank you for hanging out with us.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, Rob.
My friends, don't forget to connect with us online on social media with Instagram and LinkedIn. Be subscribed to our newsletter as well, so you don't miss cool resources, updates, upcoming events, and other great tips. And thanks so much for tuning in, friends. We'll see you next time at Shine Coaching. Cheers.